So now that you've filled out your Thomas Kilmann conflict grid, let's talk about it. Conflict is important in times of change, actually by the very nature of change. Because of change, what you want in your change may be over here, and what other people have been doing and what they want may be over here. And you may be pulling at each other because you don't want the same thing. So Thomas Kilmann is an interesting way for us to look at how people react in times of change. And there are 5 basic styles we're going to look at. Before we do that, it's important to know 2 new words. One is cooperativeness, and the other is assertiveness. Cooperativeness is actually how you are ready to meet other people's needs, and assertiveness is actually how much you want to meet your own needs. And let me show you this now on the Thomas Kilmann grid. Along this axis, we have assertiveness. Lower assertiveness, less likely to meet my own needs, and highly assertive, very likely to meet my own needs. Along the bottom, we have cooperativeness, which is actually meeting other people's needs. At this end of the grid, we have higher cooperativeness, which means I really want to meet your needs and maybe put my needs aside. And at this end of the grid, we have somebody who might not want to meet their own needs or other people's needs, and we're going to discover that style now. So now that we've talked about the basics of the Thomas Kilmann grid, let's discover it on a human size. And to do that, in a moment, I'm going to ask my colleague Damien to come demonstrate this with me. And before we do that, let's place the 2 words where they belong. First of all, along the axis at the bottom, we're going to place the word cooperativeness. Meaning at this end of the style, we have less cooperative behavior, and at this end of the style, we have more cooperative behavior. And along this side, we're going to place the word assertiveness, meaning that at this end of the scale, we have less concern for yourself, and at this end of the scale, we have more concern for yourself.
Hey, Robert, what do you think of the change initiative?
You call that a change initiative. I tell you what, I'm not ready to roll that out because I say it's not good for our people, it's not good for the company, and you need to go back and figure out what it is you want to do here. I say no to that project, and I say no right now. I think we need to stop this project now.
Hey, Robert, what do you think of the change initiative?
The change initiative. Well, I mean, it's okay. I personally would have done it a little bit differently because I think we could do it differently. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's not really so much about what I want. I need to put that aside. It's really what the company wants us to roll out. I really think we could do it differently, though. And again, that's just my opinion.
Hey, Robert, what do you think of the change initiative?
Wow, I think it's really interesting. I think it's great. And you're kind of an expert on this, aren't you?
Well, yeah, a bit of an expert.
Well, I tell you what, let's have a team meeting. I was thinking next week we could have everybody around the table and let's take half a day. No, let's take like 5-6 hours so everybody has a chance to share their point of view. Could you do that?
Possibly. Let's talk about it a bit more.
Let's do a whole day meeting.
Okay. Hey, Robert, what do you think about the change initiative?
Damien, did you used to wear glasses?
Once upon a time.
Oh, I knew something had changed about you.
And Robert, I really do want to talk to you about the change initiative, so what do you think?
I just don't think now is the time to talk about that. You know what I say? I say let's come back to it when things have calmed down. Could I get back to you, say, I don't know, the end of next quarter?
I mean, now is the time to talk about it.
Oof, I don't know. I say let it go.
Hey, Robert, what do you think of the change initiative?
Interesting. And I was wondering if you got my email, the one I sent you a few minutes ago with some of the stuff we need.
Yeah, no, I did, and I particularly liked the resource sharing idea you had, where we had, you know, some of my people doing some of your work. That had some merit in my world. Yeah,
and what I say is let's just split this thing 50-50. You'll get part of what you want, I'll take the other thing that I need, and we'll just go down the middle with it.
Well, that sounds possible. I'd like to talk it through in a little bit more detail, but in principle, that sounds like a reasonable compromise.
Great, let's do that.
So Robert, let's take one more tour around this Kilmann grid, and this time I'd just like you to explain to us the pros and cons of each particular style. So we're now in the competing grid. What are the pros and cons?
Well, the competing grid is highly assertive, not very cooperative, and the benefit to the competing grid is when you're competing is you get your point across quickly and you tell people what you want. The other benefit is that you can actually protect and stand up for the things that are right and that you think need protecting. The potential downfall of this, though, is if you only ever compete, people may not want to talk to you because they'll see you as a cold jerk that doesn't deserve talking to.
Let's go over here, Robert.
Okay, this is the accommodating style.
So, pros and cons of accommodating.
Accommodating is another wonderful style. It's highly cooperative and not very assertive. And the nice thing about accommodating is that you're the oil that smooths over the water. You're the person at that meeting that helps get things done. It's a very smooth style over the rough times. The problem with accommodating is if you only do this, you become kind of like the doormat of the league. And you need to leave your concerns aside, and you're never heard by anybody.
So where to next?
Well, let's go up to collaborating.
So, same question here. Pros and cons of collaborating.
Well, collaborating is highly assertive, highly cooperative, and what you're doing up here is you're actually taking the time to hear from everybody, and the benefit is that people are heard. The downfall of this style, and the significant downfall of this style, is that it takes time. And if you don't have time, you need to use a more competing style to get the point across.
So why don't we go over to this one over here, which I know is the avoiding style. And I must say I'm struggling to see the benefits of avoiding.
Right. A lot of people say that avoiding, they're like not happy to be in avoiding. Avoiding is a wonderful style because it's low on assertiveness, low on cooperativeness. And what it means is that you can actually make a decision. You can see the bullet coming, and you can take a step back and say, do I want to fight that battle right now? And if you do, you step into another box. And if you don't, you take a step back and you let it go.
And finally, what do we have here in the middle?
We have compromise, and compromise is actually 50-50 in the middle of everything, assertiveness and cooperativeness, and it means you get something and it means you give up something at the same time. And this benefit here is you can do that. The problem though is if you only do compromise, you're going to look like let's make a deal, gamesmanship. I gave you this, you gave me that, now it's time for this. So you're going to want to do this and know that you need to use some of the other styles as well. The other benefit to this style is you're only one step away from all the other boxes. So you can always adapt to everything else. And that's Thomas Kilmann. Thank you.